Hi, my name's Ilma and welcome to my channel. I've been posting Christian blogs 11 straight years every day, going 12 next month. Today I'd like to share Genesis 25 verses 12 to 18. Here's the word of God. These are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's servant, bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael, named in the order of their birth. Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, and Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Dumah, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names. By their villages and by their encampments, 12 princes according to their tribes. These are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. He breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people. They settled from Havilah to Shur, which is opposite Egypt in the direction of Assyria. He settled over against all his kinsmen. And Genesis 25 verses 12 to 18. Here's the poem I wrote inspired by those verses. God's fulfillment of his promise for Ishmael. Despite Ishmael's not growing up in Abraham's sight as they were banished, God continued to fulfill his promise to Hagar that he will also be blessed. Ishmael bore 12 children, namely Nebaioth, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Dumah, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. Ishmael also lived long years of 137 years. He lived and died amongst his people in Havilah and Shur. Here's my essay. There were only a few accounts in the Bible on Ishmael. In Genesis 16, we hear that Hagar bore Ishmael when Abraham was 86 years old. In Genesis 17, God promised Abraham that Ishmael will be blessed and fruitful and will multiply exceedingly and become the father of 12 princes and become a great nation. In Genesis 21, Hagar, Ishmael's mother, was banished by her mistress Sarah in the wilderness, but God reassured Hagar that Ishmael will also be blessed. He grew up and lived there and became an archer. Ishmael lived in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. Although Ishmael was blessed, he was not part of the covenant promise between Abraham and the Lord. It was in Isaac that God's promise was to be fulfilled, where kings will come from and the lineage of his only begotten son would come from. Reflection. How was it that even though Ishmael was the firstborn son of Abraham, the covenant promise wasn't fulfilled in him? You can remember that it was Sarah's doing that Ishmael was born, because if Sarah did not become impatient with the promise that God was saying that she will have children, she will bear children, because she was getting old, she didn't know how that was possible, so she took matters into her hand and asked Abraham to sleep with her servant Hagar. And so Ishmael is born out of a human intervention when it came to God's plan. It would have, and yet it's amazing how even though Ishmael was a product of a woman trying to put matters into her hand and having control over the planned promise of God to Abraham, he still blessed Ishmael, even though he wasn't the one that he promised Abraham to have a son with. So Isaac is the product of Sarah and Abraham, and Ishmael isn't a product of Sarah. He was a product of Hagar, the servant. So God is still so good that he's able to follow through and hear Abraham's cry, because he knew Abraham was crying that Ishmael is also his son. So God did fulfill his promise to keep Ishmael also fruitful and have princes under his own lineage. So it's important for us to not go against what God's plan is. Even though we don't know, even though we think it is impossible, the waiting and the obedience and the patience is very important for God's promises to be fulfilled in our lives. Thanks for watching. I hope you check my website at ILMA'S.com for artworks, photographs, and a copy of this blog. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube video. And if you haven't checked over 3,000 videos I've done, just type on Google or YouTube search ILMA'S Poem Devotional. Have a wonderful day.